Hello, friends. Live stream number 2 for the evening. Your buddy Tim coming through to talk to you. Today, we've got some major announcements from the universe of multipolarity. The first one, which I don't have on the screen for you, is about Blinkin sort of acknowledging that the United States needs to shift its global priorities, which is insane. But this, I think, is even more nuts. And remember, if you want to comment, and you comment anywhere in the Tim Kirby Hardcore chat, I will see it, and and I'll be able to answer your comments. If you want to use the call-in function, can you call in and talk and raise your hand? You sure can. So anyways, but this is crazy. Let's get it on the screen. Let's do that now. This is it. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham today stated that he is preparing to present legislation to the Senate that would allow for the deployment of U.S. military forces to Mexico. This comes after 4 Americans were kidnapped, with 3 most likely being killed by the Gulf Cartel on Friday. Okay, this is huge news. This is even bigger than the whole thing of Blinkin saying that the U.S. sort of needs to readjust its foreign policy strategies and all that. And essentially what he offered were multipolar world foreign policy strategies. Now, with this of shifting troops towards Mexico, it means that, first off, I think that that's actually a response to what happened in North Korea. Because if we listen to some of our friends who hang out with Judge Napolitano, they've mentioned that the Russians, or as they often just say Putin, as the collective leader of everyone, has really focused on horizontal escalation, right? What do they mean by horizontal escalation? They mean with the war to maybe not hit harder or more dangerously or more violently in the war itself, but to start to sort of expand with the same level of aggression, but expand across the globe. That's where we're getting into the potential for a Russian base in Guatemala. You guys, we probably saw that on Tim Kirby Hardcore. That is another huge piece of news that Guatemala essentially wants Russia to kind of come in and save their butts. Because you have to remember, apparently, again, if we believe Judge Napolitano's friends, the CIA has conducted like 60 overthrows or something, or at least attempted overthrows in the Latin American world. So you can see how they're a little bit cranky. But anyways, what would really happen if Russia actually creates a large military presence in Guatemala at the behest, that's a fun word, I don't say much, but at the behest of their leadership, what happens? That essentially means that there's a new geopolitical reality, because Guatemala is a very small place. But let's take a look at Guatemala. I could be wrong. Maybe Guatemala is bigger than I thought. Let me get it on the screen here. Map of Guatemala. So, no, Guatemala is as big as is the right size that I remember. So Guatemala is big enough that it actually does touch both sides. It touches the Gulf of Mexico, and on the other side, the Pacific Ocean. And if any of you pedantic Russians are going to say that's not the Pacific Ocean, but it's technically some kind of sea, be quiet. I'm sick of Russians. If there's one thing Russians are very pedantic about, it's not the Pacific Ocean. It's technically the Okhotskaya Sea. Like, oh, guys, it's basically the Pacific. Shut up. But anyways, so Guatemala, if Russia goes there, it essentially creates a big barrier. It creates an iron curtain, if you will, that really would cut off essentially in a physical presence. Obviously, there are things called boats and airplanes and the internet that allow us to have a much more globalized world. But in a pure sort of like military raw transport sense, it would sort of cut the United States off from the rest of Central and South America. The Panama Canal. And the Panama Canal would be essentially behind that line. I think from the world of geopolitics, that is nuts. There's probably some people on this planet who are much more erudite or, let's just say, knowledgeable about the intricacies of what actually is going on in Central America. I will never tell you that I'm an expert on Central American affairs, considering no hablo español, muchachos. So there's none of that going on. But in terms of like raw geopolitics, that is huge. And the thing with the North Korea that's in terms of geopolitics is supposedly the Russians are going to give them the Topol rocket, which sounds mental the way it's supposed to be pronounced in Russian. Topol is some kind of tree, and I don't remember which one it is, but it doesn't matter. And so I don't want to say that the American way because it sounds stupid. Topol. But Topol sounds horrible in English, so we're going to call them tree rockets. So the Russians are going to give the Ukrainians, oh no, they're not going to give them the rockets. The North Koreans these amazing tree rockets, which give them apparently the power to actually strike the United States. Because remember, after all these years of sort of threatening and tormenting the North Koreans, of course, if you're Japanese or South Korean, maybe that picture isn't so black and white. But from a Washington standpoint, essentially they've been, well, at first there was the Korean War. But again, stuff where it was like the battle during the Cold War against expanding communism. I forgive the United States for that. If I was Vietnamese, I might feel differently. But anyways, so I'm not going to say Washington was completely out of line with that one. But from a North Korean perspective, they certainly felt trounced upon. But so ever since that sort of ended, even throughout the Cold War and even surprisingly after the Cold War, this just endless sanctions, endless pressure on North Korea, pressure. For the most part, with the exception of Donald Trump, tried to sort of do a rapprochement with the North Koreans, which didn't work out, probably because of all the backstabbers that were around Trump, or as many of you black people, black pill enthusiasts feel, that Trump was part of the system from the very beginning. So, okay, whatever. You know, the North Koreans have been pressed, but ultimately, maybe with the exception of being able to strike Guam or something, you know, obviously striking Japan is possible, and Japan is a vassal state of the United States, as is South Korea, and South Korea is very strikeable from North Korea. But ultimately, like, real U.S. territory was never really under threat. Till a few days ago. So in terms of, again, the geopolitics, we had this situation where the United States essentially had complete strike potential on North Korea. And North Korea only had the strike potential to maybe hit a U.S. base somewhere in South Korea or Japan, which isn't really that much the grand scheme of things. So essentially you have a boxing match where one boxer can hit the other, because he has the reach, and the other has like these miniature little woodchuck arms, and he can't reach out and hit the other boxer. So guess who's going to win? And guess who can bully the other, you know, side? Well, not anymore. The boxer with the woodchuck arms got some kind of major surgery or cybernetic implants, and now North Korea is a very, very different beast. And so again, this news about the potential to make a move into Mexico, again, it also is really a signal where it could be a reaction to that. Like, holy moly, you know, Mexico's been kind of interested in this whole BRICS thing. Mexico's full of a lot of, you know, people who are bribable. We would know. And Russia and China just keep getting richer and richer. Well, some people say China's not. I don't know. I don't want to get in that argument because I'm not an economist. But anyways, they got enough money for lots of bribes. And lots of bribes to do bad stuff and really expand horizontally into Mexico. So that is actually crazy. And this is another thing where, for probably the one or two people who just watch this channel because they want to gather data on me or do some sort of horrible hit piece on me, you should listen, because when we look at this, look at this. You know, the United States potentially is preparing. Again, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, the king of violence. Speaking of people who like to reach out and hit someone that can't hit back, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham stated today that he is preparing to present legislation to the Senate that would allow for the deployment of U.S. military forces to Mexico. This comes after 4 Americans were kidnapped and 3 most likely being killed by a Gulf cartel on Friday. Trust me, the cartels have killed a lot of people. I don't know how many of them had American citizenship or whatever, but no, this is definitely a reaction to the Russians. But there's something good, and what I want to say about me is a little bit, again, it's a vindication moment for some people who feel that I am a traitor to the United States, because for years I've been telling people in Russia, and again, this has all been on Russian TV, this has all been on Russian radio, are any people who've known me for a long time here who are Russian. Ruslan's known me for a while, but I don't know as much. Yekaterina bailed, I guess. I guess she had to go to sleep. That's a shame, because she could vouch for me. Nope, everyone else is foreign. She could vouch for me. But anyways, I've said on the radio and Russian TV and publicly many times and during speeches that the Russians might see me as a traitor to the United States, but a strong Russia is good for America. And as you see, if America is now forced into this role of a world that's not the complete globalized world dominated by the banker elites, if Russia or the United States is being forced into a world that has competition, that means that it can't behave like a global hegemon or indulge in globalist fantasies. It has to engage in realpolitik. And guess what happens when you have realpolitik? Your military can't be woke anymore. Your society can't be filled with people who are complete idiots that are dumbed down to be slaves of globalism. And the United States might actually have to defend its borders because borders matter again in a non-completely globalized world. Ooh. I feel so vindicated today, especially after so many Russian liberals. To be honest, of Western people who've really like trolled me or sent me hateful things about my opinions, their numbers pale in comparison to the Russian liberals that have written me horrible, hateful things. And I feel vindicated because a strong Russia has created competition on the global stage, and a strong China too. I'm not Chinese. Okay, Chinese listeners, chill out. I didn't forget about you. Has created a world that again has competition, and as long as you have a world of competition, you're stuck in the reality where you have to compete with other people, and you can't live in your globalist fantasies. So guys, maybe for you who are still in America, you might be kind of sad, you might be worried, but things like this, they should really bring you a lot of hope, because if the United States is going to remilitarize the border, which, according to our friend, well, I've at least talked to him over email, Colonel McGregor, you know, the United States hasn't really patrolled its border since roughly like the start of the Cold War, which is also kind of weird. But you know, this is different. The United States is going to take control of its border. And if the United States actually does take control of its border, again, things are going to change within the United States because it will be, let's just put it this way, a lot harder to mysteriously appear in the United States. So that's awesome. A little bit of vindication for me. I think that that is absolutely titanic news. And not to mention, like I said, how Blinkin is talking about how the United States needs to readdress its foreign policy, which is crazy. Alex, did you want to speak? Someone wanted to speak and they just vanished. They not only stopped wanting to speak, they vanished from this entire group of people watching. Looks like there's about 30 of us right now, or 20 some. That's awesome. Why did that happen? I don't know. Maybe speaking of people who want to put together a documentation about me to destroy my life. Maybe that was one of them. He accidentally hit the raise hand function. Anyways, so guys, if you want to raise your hands and actually talk to me, you can use the raise your hand function. I'm going to look at the chat and see if there's... Oh, that was the wrong window. And see if anyone actually had some questions or comments. I'm full of optimism about the multipolar world, friends. I see all of these things as good. I see it, especially because I kind of wanted to make a video. Again, well, I guess we're doing a live stream. So I'll hit at it a little bit. But I actually think that if we're going to talk about like what the United States could do with its future, its geopolitical future, well, one of the simplest things that the United States could really choose to do is complete and total domination of the North American continent. And if the Russians actually do come in and make Guatemala their sort of protectorate in a way, or what, or basically do what they did in Syria, but with Guatemala, then really that would really lend itself to this vision of this sort of giant, let's just say, you know, because it wouldn't really be American Union, American-dominated continent, which would be one interesting geopolitical reality, especially because England just seems to get weaker and weaker and weaker. So take Canada away from them, and everyone will be happy. So yeah, but anyways, I'm kind of going off on tangent after tangent, and I bet someone has a question. Maybe. Let's see. Nikolai, you can only work. Nope, that's about something with immigration. If you get accepted for quote in the no. Wow, no one has any questions today. Is this a terrible topic? I thought both topics were interesting. Oh well, no one wants to talk. Does anyone want to call in or talk about? Oh, someone does. 92926 wants to speak. Hello. We're talking a little geopolitics. How you doing, Tim? But you're free to talk about any topic you like. If you want to talk about something completely unrelated, go nuts.
Yeah, okay. It's sort of it's about the conflict, and it's about sort of like the way the news is sort of portrayed. But I was watching a chap by the name of Jason Hinkle on The Drive. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, I've never spoken to him, but I know who he is, yeah.
Well, apparently he's got engaged to a Russian girl, and he's going to Russia shortly. Oh. So it'd be good to reach out. And the reason I'm saying this is that he was interviewed by Piers Morgan. You're familiar with the English guy who was...
yeah, in fact, as I mentioned, they actually reached out to me to do an interview, but man, I couldn't do it. I get enough trolling as it is, yeah, I didn't want to get cut off, so...
Yeah, no, but anyway, but at the same time, he also interviewed Roseanne Barr. Remember Roseanne from Roseanne?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you saw that interview or not.
I believe she surprisingly shut him down.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm surprised at Israel and the Israel whatever league they have at the end of the day, because they went after Jeremy Corbyn very hard, calling him anti-Semitic and that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But Piers Morgan just turned around and literally said, "I don't believe you that there's Nazis in the Ukraine," and Roseanne turning on telling him that her family was murdered, buried alive in a forest.
Oh yeah, because that's right. She said because her family were Ukrainian Jews. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's a guy called Ross Kemp. Now he's well known in the UK and Ireland. That's where I'm from, and calling from. He does a show called Extreme World. He goes around and talks to the hooligans in various countries and so on and so forth. But season 4, episode 1, it was filmed in 2014, and he interviewed the leaders of the right sector, Azov Brigade, and a couple of others. Okay, and it's about an hour long. Now this is funded by Channel 4 and the BBC. You have to remember this. Okay,
the most official media there is. Gotcha.
Perfect. Okay. At the same time, at the very end of it, okay, he has the guys with the tiki poles going down, the torches and that, and he says they have a different ideology to us, but at the same time they're fighting Russia for their country, and we should support them. Now, this ideology, he's just after interviewing, is nothing but Nazism. Now, at the same time, if you go to BBC Newsnight of the same time period, you see them talk about the Nazi problem. You go Reuters, CNN, they all talked about it. But again, that's all now disappeared. And it's a sort of like that with Roseanne Barr, having her as to interview her, or having Jason Hinkle with what do you call it?
Well,
I think you know.
The thing is, I'm pretty sure I can actually get to Hinkle since I know he's coming here. I'd love to, especially I don't know if you have his contact information or something.
No.
I'm to put the olive branch out and especially give him some advice about immigrating here, because it is not as obvious as it would seem.
Yeah, well, that's he's marrying a Russian girl, so he has a bit better in than someone like me.
Yeah, but he still has to do all the documentation still. But yeah,
but no, it's just funny that, and then you have I was watching actually the Syrian analysis, and he was talking to Natalie Morrison there from Redacted, and they were talking about Syria, and they were showing the way that the Chinese reporter last year, when there was a couple of US troops killed in Syria, and that he asked him about the situation in Syria to the UN secretary what's the UN press secretary.
Yeah.
He's a grey-haired guy. Can't miss. And it's a classic takedown.
Is he the press secretary now, or is he something else? Oh, what is Borrell? Hold on, I'll find it out. Keep talking.
No, it wasn't. It was today. It wasn't. He's not Borrell. No. It was the UN. He talked to the guy, the UN secretary there last year. It was a time when there was about 5 US troops who were injured or died in Syria, and he asked about them and about the fact that the sovereignty of territory, and the US is not supposed to have a base there. And he says, well, they don't have a base there. And he tripped himself up massively. I don't know if you saw that.
And maybe Antonio Gutierrez, maybe.
It could be the guy. I don't know.
So then,
I mean, like,
and Borrell is the senior representative of the Union of Foreign Affairs. Oh, for the okay, that's an EU thing. Sorry, I mixed up the EU and all that. Okay, so that's someone completely different. All right, too late at night. Okay, but anyways, you're saying.
Yeah, no, it's the fact that the what you call it. If you watch that actual episode here today, because there's also a woman, I can't remember her name. Mm-hmm. But she was talking on the CSIS, you know, that organization?
Yeah.
And she talked about basically taking that the US owns a third, has taken control of a third of Syria, where the oil, the carbon, and the food is, okay? And that will influence things. And the famous letter that, she totally admits it. It's like Biden, where he turned around and said, that he got the prosecutor fired. It's just as bad.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, man, you have to understand that, like, day in and day out, it's really hard to keep up things that are such bold-faced lies that and they talk about this thing again, like I said, day in and day out, and it just slips out. It's kind of hard. And in fact, that's again goes back to what I mentioned earlier, the Putin about the empire of lies. If you are doing what you're saying, then you don't need to engage in these weird lies and trickery and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I think that's one thing where, although sometimes I like to, because certain things Jordan Peterson says on occasion, I think he's really still stuck very deeply in the, I'm from the West, so I'm from the best. Our Westernness is amazing and nothing else could have value. So sometimes he annoys me a little bit on that. But one thing he said that I think really holds up to being true is that tyranny is based on a lie. Again, I don't like his wording of it, but basically some sort of like tyrannical or system that's miserable to live under is based on lies. Because as long as you can tell the truth and you can be like, hey, this road is good, but that road the government built over there is bad. As long as you can say that, then you can't really be living in a very repressive society. And I think that's a good example of it, where, we have to officially try our best to remember all the lies we have to keep in our heads about, all the lies we're keeping in our heads about, no, in Syria we're there because of some kinetic action reason and hold territory, freedom, whatever, and these people can't even remember them, So again, the more we have to lie, the more there's something wrong with society. Okay, sorry, long story short, sorry.
Yeah, no, but remember, Trump turned around and told us we're there for the oil.
Oh, Trump said well, that's different because, dude, remember, there are certain things where your buddy Tim here is a little bit more cold-blooded than I think some of the other people in the alternative media are. And I'm someone that actually does understand that sometimes you have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. Like, for example, like what if during the whole, that first Iraq war and all that, what if because we needed to protect Kuwait because of oil and stuff, well, what if we instead said, hey, Kuwait, 50's first state, baby, you guys come, we're going to essentially kind of friendly conquer you, and you'll have to learn English in schools, but you also get protected, and you can keep your religion. You could do something, kind of like work out a deal like that. See, something like that would be nice, because I think you could find a way to make it more win-win. Because as soon as you engage in these lies of like, we're going to help you and save you by bombing you, that's when very few people win. So,
I'm laughing because, the transgenderism would be the next thing they try to put in.
Oh, well, in 1992, 3 or whatever that was.
No. Like, I mean, you're going back in time. I'm talking about basically speaking to
but that's a perfect example of what Jordan Peterson was talking about the lie. It's like, is this a man or a woman? And it's like someone who looks like me, and you have to answer, I can't tell. I don't, I was like, I'm not going to ascribe anyone's gender. I have to ask them. Like, everyone knows that that's bullshit. Everyone, and it's a lie, and it's making you repeat the lie, and that's the aspect of totalitarianism. So I think if there's anything that belongs on Jordan Peterson's gravestone, it should be that actual quote, because I believe that's his original idea, and it's pretty good, pretty good. Yeah. So
you had a lady by the name of Kim Iverson. She has a show as well. She interviewed, I think it's Robert Epstein, who's a doctor.
Yeah.
But
it was the other Epstein. Oh boy.
Oh no. No, yeah, well, I mean, you can ring up Andrew. He was in Kiev recently. He probably sort of had the key to Epstein there, whatever he had in Kiev.
Yeah, but anyways, you're saying, sorry, I'm too full of jokes and dumb comments.
No. She interviewed that gentleman. Now he has actually been doing a survey in the United States where basically he's going after Google. Now this is big. You should go look into that interview, because he has got people with laptops, I think, where basically Google will be sending out these, they'll appear on your phone, okay, as an ad or something like that, but they'll disappear and you've no way of seeing it, you've no way of tracing it. No. But he has put together a computer where they actually catch it. Now, what's the lady, oh God, I think it's Arizona, the one that lost the governorship, Kerry something or another.
Dude, I do not have the list of governors in my head.
No, she didn't get it. She lost. She's Republican anyway, but she is in court at the moment, and she's using his evidence to show that there was interference from Google. Now, this is the same. This is it Kerry Lake? I think it's Kerry Lake. I could be corrected, but this is the evidence that Trump needs for his case, because it's all to do with the same. Because he has guys all over the place with these laptops where they're capturing, and they're registered voters, and that's what they're doing. They're sending out, you go vote, because they get paid. Apparently, the people get paid the more people vote in certain countries as well.
Well, I'll tell you one thing: the Russian liberals have always accused people in Russia of doing that. They're giving people what the time many years ago 500 ruble bills to just go and vote and all that stuff. So that concept has been let's just say used in many countries many a time, but it's a shame to see it in America, that's for sure.
Yeah, but the interesting one as well, we sort of touched on it there with the transgenderism. You're familiar with Jimmy Dore?
Oh yeah. I'm surprised I've never been on the show. Jimmy, fix this problem, baby. Well, anyway.
Yeah, but he interviewed a chap by the name of Peter Flaherty. Now, he's a lawyer, and I don't know what city he was in, but he was at an AGM there about 2 months back, we'll say, maybe 3 months back. He was a named speaker. Now, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates were the top honchos there, okay? And Buffett had the hammer to turn around and say who could speak, who could not. But he had 3 minutes, because he's a shareholder. It's a shareholders meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. And quite a senior shareholder to be given 3 minutes speaking to talk. And he was stopped twice, and then on the second time he was arrested and took off stage. Now he's a law in a president of the Law Society. He went on to Jimmy Dore's show, and what he said during his speech, he pointed the finger at the two lads I mentioned, that they're the ones who were funding the transgenderism. Now, his whole thing was, if you remember what happened to Bud Light and still going on, they lost something like 29 billion. And as a shareholder of this particular company, he did not want the company to go down that road because they would lose money and devalue their stocks. So he was, proper capitalism. Don't go there. And that. But it's something that I haven't seen anything else on it, because obviously he was arrested, and he's going to go after them for the First Amendment, freedom of speech and stuff like that at the end of the day. And but that's the reason why he was taken off. So, but the reason I've sort of put my hand up was more going back to Piers Morgan, the likes of the BBC with the BBC Newsnight, and that the programs where they showed the Nazis in the Ukraine back in 2014, that disappeared after 2017, and then you have the likes of Piers Morgan talking to Roseanne Barr. Jeremy Corbyn got taken out of politics because of being anti-Semitic, and yet there he is, and he's been anti-Semitic, yet he's allowed to go on whatever forum and platform and not be pulled up on it.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's always going to be, dude. Like, I think that's also one thing that's kind of unavoidable. Some sort of like selective enforcement of all sorts of things. Like, yeah, I mean, ever since I believe he's dead now. But and I don't want to repeat it because I'll get in a lot of trouble. Maybe even here. But very few people remember that comedian Gilbert Gottfried called President Barack Obama when he was president a particular spicy word from the English language to refer to black people as. And that was on national radio. Nothing. He actually got burnt over making fun of people dying from the Fukushima disaster. That's what actually ended his career. I don't know how he got away with that. That was insane. And like there was no reaction to it in the public. None. And that was on national radio, which is crazy. So again, about selective enforcement, it's weird what gets you. Like, was his career really... He wasn't completely canceled, but he was 75 to 80% canceled because of Japanese people dying, which is just bizarre. So I think it was because the Aflac insurance company had something to do with Japan, but I don't know. Very, very, very weird. So
you mean like the Japanese on the anniversary of Nagasaki and Hiroshima?
Oh no, with the Fukushima one, with the reactor.
I know. I know. No, but what I'm talking about there, the recent anniversary in Japan for when the United States said was it Blinkin that was there or something like that, but they wouldn't turn around.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh, that's so cringe to have like. For U.S. officials to be there on the day like the bomb dropped and have anything to say about that, that's and also if you want to talk about like signal sending, that really sends a signal to Japan. We own you.
Well, I think I've seen on some on a few Telegram channels where certain Japanese think that they've been led to believe that the Russians dropped the bomb.
Oh, of course. Well, the propaganda is
goes without saying,
man. So, yeah, but again, that goes back to one of my other talking points that I've said in the Russian media year after year and don't see much traction on, that maybe if someone's in Russia is really cranky about American propaganda, maybe Russians need to make a lot of media that reflects these new values and ideas that we believe in, but we don't, for the most part.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, someone else, man, wants to raise their hand. We're going to let you go. Okay. Not because you're a bad person, but because Anne is here. We're going to switch genders like true woke rainbow-haired freaks. We went from male to female callers.
I accept. Okay, Tim. A couple of global issues maybe to think about in the future. Number one global. I hope the Russian people are not getting down. They're relatively isolated. I hope they hang in there, but constant vilification gets good people down. And so that's one concern. My second, and then you can comment as you wish. My second comment globally is that with all the comments flying right and left and occupying the media, there is no place where the cause and effect of everything is really clearly laid out. The cause of for example, the whole issue in Donbass in 2014-15, I never hear that discussed as any sort of cause and effect. Yeah. So it would be great in a location or somewhere or somehow to do a chronology of exactly what happened and how a reasonable person
I type on this one. There have been a ton of English language documentaries produced by Russians about this. The problem is, why haven't you seen them? Because they're more like intellectual, clean, straight, like documentaries. You know what I mean? And those don't really build a lot of resonance for the most part. And so, no, the Russians have very, very well, even in English, broken this down and categorized this in media and this, that, and the other. So I'd have to disagree with that point. The problem is it's not packaged into something that's exciting that grabs people's attention who wouldn't otherwise be attuned to getting the information.
Okay, great. Could you post a link to one of those?
Oh boy, a couple of them. Find some. I was even invited to one premiere of a movie like that, and I don't even remember it. But oh man, let's just look now. Let's see.
Well, it should be. I mean, I just noticed it's never mentioned. It hardly ever mentioned, and it is such a.
Well, what about what's his name? Well, hold on. Oliver Stone.
Yeah, Oliver Stone had one. Yeah, I'll have to go listen to that to see if he really lays it out bit by bit.
Ukraine on fire. Let's see. Ukraine on fire document. No, I don't want to play it. No, don't play it. No, computer. No, we're not going to do that. No, stop. Sorry, I don't want the computer to play any video and then this video gets immediately taken down on my channel, banned again. So we need to do what? Hold on, brain not working. We're going to get this done. God dang it. Hold on a sec. Gosh dang, where is that stupid tab? There it is. There's a tab. Okay. So, anyways, we're going to show you, because now it works differently, this screen. So we have Ukraine on fire, directed by Oliver Stone. So that's a good one in English. That's, of course, before the war starts. So let's go to Yandex. Alright, that doesn't show too much personal information. I think we're cool. That would be then, let's see. Documentary about war in Ukraine. 1 year of war. Russia and Ukraine. 7 News documentary. Ukraine war. Watch War in Ukraine. Human stories. War in Europe. Drama in Ukraine. That's from. Oh, if that's from. No, this is from a Russian source. But I don't think it's in English. Ukraine documentaries. Russia Today. Look at all this on Ukraine documentaries. Everything, every aspect about the stuff in Ukraine, right there from Russia Today. Heading east, don't miss. So yeah, looking at RTD as in the documentaries Russia Today makes is probably a good option. That's probably what I should have thought of first. I am a bad boy. But anyways, so yeah, so actually this has been categorized, but again, really chronicled. But again, one of the problems is. Not because of your actions, but you haven't been able to be exposed to this because it's not being projected. As my one friend who's now sitting in prison is saying, who knew a lot about television, with a media product, it's all about distribution. How do they get it to people? And you can make the best documentary in the world, but if no one watches it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. Like, if maybe I had more podcasting brains, I could get more than, like, 2,000 views on all these videos I do. You know what I mean? So, it's all about the distribution. It's all about getting it to people.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I think those are huge. Those are huge topics, and I'm going to be thinking about it a little bit more. Always happy when I can catch you, but yeah, I tell everybody to hang in there because people never cause these problems. You know, people never cause wars. It's never people that instigate wars, or the outcome. So, yeah.
Well, to be honest, Dan, I would say unless you're Chinese, because apparently according to Chinese public opinion, it's the average American's fault that American foreign policy is so bad. I don't know. This Chinese rhetoric that I see is very weird. It's very, very strange. But anyways, I'm going to let you go. I don't, I'll put it this way, I don't know. It's always hard to take seriously people who don't look like they're rude. Someone who doesn't want to go off to war would tell you taking these opinions from these weird Chinese bot accounts that it's the average American's fault that American foreign policy is bad because people aren't willing to stand up and die for what they believe. You stand up and die for what you believe first, Bell. Anyways, someone's typing. I'm gonna let them finish their message because they're typing furiously, according to my little preview thing. And then I guess we're gonna go. Our big topic of today was okay. That was not what I was expecting. But anyways, so boom. That's the wrong screen. No. Where is that thing that I was showing earlier? Where'd it go? No. It's this? Yes. I don't know about that. Oh, whatever. You got to see all the memes I store there. I store tons of memes on the left screen, so I hope you enjoyed the memes. But anyways, this is the image of the that I think was the catalyst of what we're talking about today. That Lindsey Graham says that they're preparing to actually send military forces to Mexico or perhaps to the border. Everything is changing. The horizontal escalation of the war in Ukraine is happening. The United States is being forced back into a political realities, and that could save us from wokeness in a lot of ways. Ultimately, obviously, if you are a Mexican person who lives at the border, this could be really bad for your health, for some sort of like cartel versus American war to start on some level. Of course, that's not good on an individual basis, but I think for the future of the United States, as we talked about before, through all these different aspects of looking at the geopolitical ramifications of this, this is actually maybe a really good thing. So anyways, guys, I'm going to call it an evening. Thanks all 30 of you for being here, and we will talk very soon.